Welcome to the Track2AI Podcast, your guide to the most impactful AI and tech solutions powered by Chetu. I'm your host, Leonard Goffe, and I love discovering how the right technology can move businesses forward. I speak with experts about everyday tech problems, and we share solutions that actually work. From AI integration to practical use cases, you'll get the clarity you need to make smarter decisions for your company. If you're ready to stay ahead of the tech trends, yes, you've come to the right place. It is time to get on track. AI isn't magic. It's a complex tool that needs to be managed. And today, on this episode of the Track2AI Podcast, we'll be talking about how leaders need to react to AI implementation and migration projects to make needed changes successfully. So with me today to talk about how leaders can manage AI is Anshu Raj. Anshu and I have had the pleasure of talking quite a few times before. He's an expert. He's the Director of Operations in the AI division of Chetu and leads a team of over 100 talented programmers and developers from across the globe. He's speaking to us today from his Dallas office. So, Anshu, I've gotten the pleasure of speaking to you quite a few times before, and thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Leonard, for having me.
You're welcome. Now, while AI is somewhat new, your experience in software, machine learning, and now, of course, AI spans over 20 years. How did you get started in all this?
I actually started my career in traditional software engineering. So my background is development. So long before AI was in mainstream and enterprise environment. Early on, I was building automation system, mostly rule-based system that helped system clients, streamline the processes in finance operations. What fascinated me wasn't AI itself, but the idea that system could improve based on data instead of needing a new rules written every time the condition changed, right?
That makes sense because you want to, even in before AI, people want to automate more and get things rolling. And if there's anyone trying to get into the field of AI today, what's your number one advice for them?
So my advice, of course, it's a good time to enter AI field, to be honest. But first, fundamentals, tools, changes constantly. So model changes, API changes, framework change, but the math and data don't, right? And second is the domain knowledge. That is very important, right? So AI becomes valuable when it understands a business problem. If you know how claim flow works in healthcare or how fraud occurs in banking or just how inventory works in retail, you become massively more valuable to someone who you know, just knows
Yeah,
who just knows data
that's a
transformers.
really important point because people think they're going to be replaced by AI, but people with product knowledge and industry experience, I think they're needed more than ever in this time of AI. So we have a couple of questions for you. First of all, AI is entering into just about every business now. So to our listeners, if it's not in your organization yet, and it really is, it will be, but let's admit it. We all know this. The dark truth is that most AI projects fail. And yes, I blame leadership for that. So, Anshu, where do you think most leaders get AI implementation and migration wrong?
See, Leonard, the number one mistake is treating AI as an IT initiative instead of business transformation. So most companies start with vendors, models, and tool instead of starting with business problem and outcome, right? So they end up saying we need a chatbot or we need a generative AI instead of saying we need to reduce support volume by 30% or need to accelerate claims.
Have you found when you're going through your clients or potential clients that some of them are just saying, I need AI, and not really fully understanding the use case of AI or how it works and what their purpose really is?
That's pretty much every time, all day long. So that's where they just say that, okay, I need AI, but they don't know why exactly they need. So that's where I come in and explain them that you need a use case to map with the AI, right? So what is the use case? What is the outcome of it? What is the success criteria? If we define that, that's when AI shines. So that's when you will be able to implement AI correctly into your organization.
Is that a difficult conversation? Because I could imagine a lot of business leaders thinking they need AI, but not actually thinking, hey, what is my exact use case? What should I expect on an ROI? Those type of things.
There are multiple things when you start or when an organization prepare to adopt AI, right? So first thing is data side, where company need clarity around where their core data lives, right? On the process side, you cannot automate what you don't understand. So we do a lot of value stream mapping to see where time, money, or manual work is actually being spent. And on leadership, there needs to be a sponsor who has budget, authority, or strategic alignment, right? And finally, the change manager, which is very important. So AI adoption requires workforce enablement, training, communication, and sometimes redesigning the role even. So if you drop into a department without helping people understand how to use it, it will be rejected.
I agree with you, and a lot of people feel that it's going to take their jobs when it's going to enhance their careers and their jobs. And I think we need to reach out to some of the listeners there and discuss the data a little bit. There's unstructured data and structured data, and all of that needs to be part of your AI. But I wonder if you could simply explain what is unstructured data and what is structured data, and why do both of those matter?
See, unstructured data is something which is pretty much a simple piece of paper you can imagine digitally, right? So your PDFs, your Word document, your images, these are unstructured data. You have that sitting on your folder in your computer, right? So, and people are still nowadays using Excel. So, of course, those data is another unstructured part. Now, structured are where they have little bit of digital transformation, where data is being structured into a database. Now, with AI, both are needed because ultimately, when a organization is working with any type of their work or operations or processes, they need both type of data. But for AI to work, those both has to be combined in providing the right decision or right output.
It sounds like when you go into an organization, you're going to explain to them what these are and how they can best take advantage of it, which leads me into the next question. So let's say you've talked to a company and they're ready to prepare for AI. They're ready to adopt it. How would they adopt and prepare, especially to adopt AI?
Preparedness is where we look for right data, where make sure the data is not siloed. There has to be single source of truth. That's the first step.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, the key advice is to speak in the language of outcome, not in the language of model. So leadership don't care about embedding, transformer, GPUs, LLM. They care about business metrics, outcomes, or revenue, cost, productivity, these kind of things, or speed, or compliance, right? So don't say we should use generative AI for document parsing. Say we can reduce your turnaround time on claim by 40% using AI assisted document extraction.
That really does make sense
Exactly. Yep.
because you want to make sure that the company, for whatever money they're spending adopting AI and using models, they need to get a value from it. And they also need to be ahead of their competition as well. And that leads me to another question. If an organization hasn't yet implemented AI, or maybe they failed doing it, there's likely going to be early adopters. And I think you and I are like that. I know in my particular job, as soon as ChatGPT came out, I started using it, and it greatly enhanced my efficiency. And now on an organization level, they're using AI. And, in many companies they are. But there's still a lot of people and a lot of companies that haven't done that yet. So for the early adopters who are listening right now, what advice do you have for them to discuss with leadership and get them rolling onto AI?
Bring a small scoped proposal, not a grand vision. Come with specific use case, a timeline, and a metric, right? A metric can be, okay, this is what business impact will be. This is the business value you're going to get. Something like in 8 weeks, we can test an AI triage system that reduces manual tagging of supporting email by 60%, saving X amount of X hours per week. So that will show them the leadership that, okay, yes, this is going to work, right? So this is going to give me my ROI.
That makes sense. It all comes down to ROI. Now, here's the opposite question. Leadership gets behind an AI initiative, but the rank and file people are scared. They're thinking AI is going to take my job, because we see this in the headlines right now, that there's been quite a few job cutbacks from large companies, and they're blaming AI for it, which I don't really buy. I think it's that they had too many people to begin with, and they want to lean down. And it's easy to blame a machine or a program, saying, "Oh, it's AI's fault." But you still need to alleviate those fears, and there's a lot of employees who resist change as well. So, what advice would you have for leadership to give to the rank and file people when a new AI program is getting started?
So first advice for them will be to implement a change leadership. So change leaders are important because using framework like ADKAR, whereas start with awareness, right? So when you're doing a development or planning or even with initiation, make them involved, make them aware, right? And then D is for desire and knowledge. So tell them what's in it for them, why they will, what will this they will get from this, right? So that's the desire, knowledge. So giving them explanation or giving them knowledge about how this is going to help them, right? And then of course once this is implemented, they give them the training and support, and then reinforcement, because they will be needing that.
And that makes sense.
Exactly. So it's not about deployment and done. It's about helping them adopt it. If your AI is not adopted, you are doing something wrong.
And that's true. Every technological change has spurred fear, but it's been overall much better for most people, even if they had to switch jobs. A long time ago, I know typewriters are coming back into vogue these days, but a long time ago in companies, they would have what's called a typing pool. So there would be people at their desks, and they'd write something down. They'd hand the piece of paper over to the typing pool. They would type it up, and it would come back to the original person. Then we had word processors come in, and all the typing pool people suddenly were out of typing pool jobs. However, most of those people became users of word processors. And instead of just typing things, they were also creating things. And that led to a new revolution of information and knowledge that has really helped us. Let's take some examples of successful companies who've become so-called AI-first companies. What examples could you give us?
So AI first, there are a lot of companies right now who are investing in AI. If you look at Amazon, Netflix, Tesla, Alibaba, these companies all built strong data infrastructure before they built AI application. So remember I told you about being data ready, right? And second, they have executive sponsorship. So at Amazon, AI is driven top down across for forecasting, logistic, personalization, and pricing. You see Netflix AI used for content recommendation, creative decision support, and operations. And these initiatives are not side project; they are core business levers. So basically, that's how these companies are successful right now. So again, it's all about starting with the data and making sure you are adopting it, making it core of your business. So that's how these companies are successful.
Even companies like Amazon, for example, they give you these almost perfect shopping recommendations. And that really helps their bottom line. I know they started out just as a guy selling books online, and with data all the time, it's gotten much better that it recommends. And I've heard that in the rumor mill in the future, that Amazon may actually send products to you based upon the knowledge they already know about you from AI and big data. They know you might buy a particular product at a certain time, and they're just going to send it to you. This is what I've heard down the line is coming. This is how good our data will be and our AI will be.
That's called digital twin, by the way. So they are preparing digital twins of you based on what your buying behaviors are, what are your preferences, what you have been doing recently. They are kind of preparing and seeing what you're gonna buy next. So that's there, yeah.
That is a good idea for them. I'm sure a lot of people are going to keep those packages. They'll be like, I need it. I'm keeping it. Um, and AWS, of course, the other side of Amazon, is a really huge company that manages and stores all that data. So that's pretty good. So when it comes to companies that are just starting out with AI and they want to go on the journey, but they have some stakeholders who are for it, some who are against, is it better to start a smaller, what's called a POC or proof of concept, or sometimes called a minimum viable product? Is it better to plan it that way, or is it better to plan for a larger scale change? And which do you wind up doing mostly for your clients?
See, the most successful pattern I've seen across industry in my experience has been starting with a POC to pilot to production. And POC helps you to validate the feasibility of the use case. So that helps you to know if the data is usable. Can this, if the AI model that is being used, gonna perform well enough? Or are you able to define the success metric? Does the business owner agree with the target outcome? So the good POC is a small scope, clean data access, clear success metric, a shorter timeline, and low integration friction, right? So there should not be like, okay, I have to connect to this, and to get this to perform. Then you move to pilot, which validates the production reality and workflow integration. And finally, you move to production. So when the engineering comes into the picture. But yeah, that's the pattern I've seen, which works very well.
Yeah, that makes sense because I know if I owned a company, which I don't, um, I would rather start small and grow bigger with my AI, make sure it works, and then expand the use cases. Chetu's Track2AI framework helps businesses adopt AI easily. In just 8 steps, you can unify data silos, maximize your ROI, and increase employee buy-in. Our experts will create a custom plan designed for your AI. Click the link in the show notes to learn more. Hey, just out of curiosity, outside of work, how are you using AI in your daily life? I've actually used ChatGPT to plan out a vacation a couple times, and it'll tell me stop here and stop over here, go to this store or that store. Are you using any kind of AI for your personal use like that?
Personal use, yes. Actually, to be honest, my wife does a lot. So,
Okay.
of course, finding nearby, deals. To be honest, what are the good deals that uh, nearby in grocery stores are, and of course, uh, finding tickets that even I do it. So, finding cheap flight tickets.
My wife is the planner, but I have to make sure her data is not biased, just to be sure, which it isn't in, of course. Let's see here. A lot of companies have legacy systems, and for whatever reason, they can't pull away from them. How do we make those legacy systems work with AI integration?
You're right. Almost every enterprise we work have, I have worked with so far has legacy systems like mainframes, ERP, proprietary tools, or homegrown databases. And legacy is not a blocker, to be honest. It's a constant that needs integration strategy. So basically, there will be three main approaches to kind of help them to make sure AI works in those legacy system. API wrapping, which is where legacy system can expose even uh, APIs that AI can call into via modern middleware, right? So,
And let's explain for our audience exactly how an API works, because they may want to understand that.
no, of course, I just want to make sure I don't deviate from that. But yes, it's like a bridge between two systems, right? You can imagine. So you have two buildings. So if you are like if you have seen those sky bridges, right, that connects these two buildings, one person can go to the other. So it's like that. So two systems, a bridge that can connect data from one system to another.
Okay, so if your data was people and they're in one village and you build this bridge called an API, then they can visit the next village. So they come from legacy village and they move to the modern AI village. And that's where we get the village people from.
Exactly.
Aside from the leadership, what advice do you have for organizations and how they can help prepare the data? And we talked about unstructured data and structured data earlier. But how do they know that they're putting in the right data? How do they know how to get the data in certain data points, devices, IoT devices, anything like that? How would they understand how to do that?
So accessibility is very important for the data, especially. So just to make sure for them to prepare, can the data we retrieved, are these locked, right? So whether it's a PDF, as I said, unstructured data, right? Whether it's a PDF, emails, or scattered across spreadsheets. And then do we have enough of it? And is it complete, right? There is no duplicacy. So the noise, right, which we call as a noise, there is no formatting issues. Structured matters because structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data requires different pipeline. So, for example, claim document often requires a separate mechanism before they are usable. And again, for other thing is governance, ownership, permission, lineage. And what companies should do is they should invest in data engineering, cataloging their data, coming up with a single source of truth, right?
I like the single source of truth. Hard to pronounce, but I do like it. And companies need to pay attention because there's a lot of companies that have different departments, different owners, and they take ownership sometimes a little bit too seriously. And one department doesn't give information to the other. So that is a very bad management process and corporate process that needs to end in a lot of companies. Now, in your experience, how would you guide decision makers to get to what they really need? And you mentioned some good things about data just before, but on top of that, if you're coming into a company for the first time, let's say you have a meeting with them and they say, okay, let's go. What would be the timeline on there to let them get their data in shape before any kind of API or any kind of engineering on your part starts?
The first hardest part is to make sure that silo data are connected, right? So the first is, well, what I will do is I will make sure that I'm connecting with all those different departments, making sure we can get and networking will be very important in that case. So whoever is taking charge of that part, I mean, I can say it's a tough job, but then yes, once you have get all the data connected and available for the next level for the AI implementation to be done, you are actually in a right path. So of course, timeline can differ depending on how complex data they have in their organization. But then once that roadblocks is covered, you are in the right path to kind of move towards the AI implementation. So yeah.
And in one of the books that I read some time ago, a couple months ago, they're talking about AI implementation inside corporations and enterprises. And they recommend getting a chief AI officer. Is that something more or less that you do?
You can say that, yes. That's kind of what we do. I will do basically, with different departments, figure out what are the different problem or challenges they are facing, talk to them, listen to them, develop a champion in that department, and then kind of, making sure their data is connected and help next, of course, once that happens, that's when the next part comes in of AI development.
Nice. And I want our audience to understand when the term single source of truth, it means that you don't have conflicting records. Down to, let's say, a customer number, you have the correct phone number, not two different ones, or the correct names, or what they've purchased in the past, their buying habits. And you want to be able to make sure that data is one source. So anybody in the company will be able to access that particular data.
That is exactly what it is. So basically, let's say you have data in four different places. Um, so the main job of the data engineer is to kind of create a pipeline that connects all those four different sources to one single place and create a data lake or something that can store it. And then from there onwards, you mine it and then have it available for any applications to tap in and then get information
And
from.
we better just define the word data lake for people.
No, absolutely. So the data lake is like a raw, you can say, place where all the data flows in a raw format, and then from there onwards, you can do anything on top of it.
Oh, okay. So to put it very simply, if you're familiar with an old file cabinet, that would be your data lake and
That
everything
would
would
be
be
a
in
data.
there. And
Exactly.
hopefully you have a lock on that cabinet. We got to have security these days. Can you give me any examples of some recent work that you've done to take a company who either had small AI or no AI and get them up to speed?
No, yeah, absolutely. So there is this company I worked with who were providing RFP or marketing. They were a marketing agency. They were providing RFP services to their clients, and
And by, I'm sorry, by RSP services, you mean?
it's a request for proposals. So when you help your clients to, so basically they were helping client win grants, government contracts, things like that. So those contracts always, comes with a RFP or a request for proposal. So there's a huge document. It's like 100-page document with lot of questions to fill in and a lot of information to fill in. So it's a very tedious task, to be honest. We start doing it manually. So that's what the main business of this client was, and of course, RFP submission is a time sensitive matter.
It is. I do that on my job as an analyst relations, and those RFPs are really long.
Yep.
It takes a lot of effort, a lot of people to join in, um, and I've automated them to some extent, and hopefully more. So it sounds like a similar thing to this company.
Exactly what it was. So basically, we introduced AI to help them automate those manual processes, and the work that was their content writer was doing in a week was now done in matter of minutes or seconds even, right? So those tasks were done. They are now using this AI tool. Their writers are using this AI tool to be efficient, complete more and more or serve more and more customers that way. They are now actually using this as a selling this as a service or subscription model to earn return on investment.
That's an amazing thing to get. Um, and it's saving a lot of money, and I'm sure the people are reading them over before they go out. Human in the loop, of course. And for the audience, human in the loop means that AI is always being monitored, and you make sure that the results are what you need to get them to. I'm going to talk about that in a second in our AI myth of the week. But I do have one last question for you now. And let's pretend that I'm the owner or leader of a medium-sized company, say about 1,000 people. And for whatever reason, I haven't done anything with AI yet. I must have been on vacation somewhere. I don't know. So I haven't even tried one. Or that I did try one and it failed. If there's a top 3 suggestions that you would give to me and one suggestion on how to find the right AI enablement company.
See, first suggestion is to diagnose the real failure. Why it failed? AI project don't fail randomly; they fail in patterns, right? So the causes are usually data immaturity, unclear scope, or lack of any sponsorship or lack of adoption. That could be one of the factors, right? Running a proper retrospective to identify what were the root causes that prevented these, just to prevent these repeating mistakes. And second, just like I said, start with a small use case that has a higher ROI or quick wins, you can say, a lower integration friction. Because project fails when they try to tackle broad transformation instead of focused outcome. So choose a case with a single workflow, a single data set, a single business owner, um, because success builds confidence, right? So once you get a success,
That makes sense. So start with one small department, one use case, and build up from there. That does make a lot of sense. You've sold me. I'm going to use you for my AI project of my mythical company. And if somebody was searching for an AI company, what would be the top one or two things they would look for in a vendor?
So, what they should look for in a vendor is, are they themselves an AI first company? Are they using AI for themselves? That's first thing, right? And of course, having data scientists or uh, data engineers or ML engineers in the company doesn't make a company, or a vendor, uh, an AI solution provider, but a company who is actually doing it what they preach, right? So that will be the first thing, and then of course the previous experience, domain knowledge, industry vertical experience is gonna play very important role. Remember, I said domain knowledge is very important, because unless you understand the business knowledge and unless you understand what works and how, you won't be able to do the implementation. So that's very important.
That's a really important point, too, because there's a lot of people who may be qualified with AI and know how to use it and how to make it. But if you're not having the industry experience, your project's going to miss out. So that is an important thing. All right, I'm going to go into the AI myth of the week. And here's why, as we said before, we always need what's called a human in the loop. So there's a newspaper, I guess I shouldn't mention it by name, but it rhymes with Chicago Sun-Times and Philadelphia Inquirer, got into a little bit of trouble back in May when they featured a special edition that included a summer reading list of recommended books. Now, for my friends who aren't into reading, no problem with the story. But for my friends, including myself, they might have a problem with that, because the only problem is that those books just didn't exist, not even the Cliff Notes. So the author of the section did admit to using AI to assist, which is perfectly reasonable. We all do that. But he actually failed to fact-check the output. And does anyone remember when newspapers actually fact-check themselves? I mean, he could have looked them up to see if the books exist on Amazon and ordered them and read them himself, but that's basically it. All right. So again, thank you so much, Anshu, for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Leonard.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Track2AI Podcast. That's using the number 2, of course. And sign up for our email list. Go to www.track2aipodcast.com. And until next time, stay in the know and get on track. This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the guest are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Chetu Inc., its management, or employees. Listeners should not solely rely upon the information provided and should consult appropriate professionals for advice tailored to their individual specific needs. Neither the host, guest, nor Chetu Inc. make any warranties, expressed or implied, regarding the information provided.